Hello everyone, today is April 4th, so we're learning about dyeing today. So we're here in my laundry room and we're going to learn a little bit about dyeing some linen fabric since that's the next project I have coming up. Now dyeing is really easy, especially in your washing machine. It's not that hard and it's not that messy. So you just need a few simple things. First off, bleach for cleanup. If you're paranoid about getting dye anywhere, bleach is the best thing. Next, you're going to need some dye. Today we're going to be using a mixture of RIT dye in Kelly Green, Dylon in Tropical Green, and Dharma Fiber Reactive in New Emerald Green. Now we're using a mix because linen is really hard to dye and even harder to dye in the correct color. So I've tested it, and this mix, it just gives me the best green that I'm looking for. You're going to need some kind of dye and scent-free detergent. I have this, it's called Synthrapol. It's a commercial dyeing detergent, but you can use any of the baby-safe, dye-free, scent-free detergents out there. And you'll also need an old rag. I have this washcloth that I use, but you can use anything you don't mind bleaching. Okay, the first step is your fabric. You need to wash it with your detergent that is dye and scent free. This gets any finishes or grime off of it so that you have a clean canvas to work with. If you don't do this, your fabric can spot. And you also want to leave it wet. So just take it out of the machine, set it aside, then you fill your machine up with the hottest water you have. If you live alone or with adults who can understand, turn up the water heater. Tell everybody in the house, warn them, I'm turning up the water heater. Water's going to get hot. But if you can do that, the hottest water your machine can stand is really the best thing to dye with. Next, after we filled it up, I'm going to be putting my dye in a measuring cup that is clearly marked dye because we never want to eat out of something we've dyed with. But if you're using Dylon or RIT, you can just pour it straight into the machine, which we're going to start out with doing. I'm shaking my RIT, and because it's a liquid, I'm just going to pour it straight into the machine. And I like putting some extra water in the RIT and shaking it up because RIT kind of concentrates at the bottom. There we go. Next up, we're going to mix our powders. I have the Dylon. And I put a little bit of water, you can see, into my measuring cup. And I'm just pouring the dye in. Always put powder into water, not water into powder, because you'll get poof up when you put water onto dye, and you don't want to breathe this stuff. It is a chemical, so as little you can breathe of it as possible. Next, I'm doing my New Emerald Green. I'm just taking a heaping spoonful and a leveled spoonful. What I did for my test is I measured this out in a little bit, and now I'm estimating based on the capacity of my washing machine, the gallons that it holds. So now I'm mixing that up. And the point is to get this dye evenly dispersed, all of the little powder bits dissolved, so that it will evenly disperse in my washing machine. There we go. See? So now I'm going to pour it in. I always try to pour it in evenly, and of course rinse my cup out so that as much dye as possible gets into the machine. There we go. Now I'm going to close my machine and let it agitate for a little bit so that it can mix all those dyes together with the water. And I'm also going to add a little bit of my detergent as well. That's a wetting agent. What that does is it helps the dye get to the fabric and stick. So I'm going to let this agitate for a little bit, and then we'll be back. There we go. Our dye has agitated. It's pretty well dispersed, you can tell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the fabric. Now, you want to do this as quickly and evenly as possible. With this piece of fabric, it's not that big, so it's not that hard. But with larger pieces of fabric, you want to get it in there as fast as possible, but without any twists or turns to it. Next, I'm going to close and let this agitate so that the dye can get to all the parts of the fabric that are above water right now. There we go. You can see all the fabric is submerged, so I know that it's dyeing. What I'm going to do is I put this on the heavy load, so it has lots and lots of agitation. And I'm just going to alternate 5 minutes of letting it sit with 2 minutes of agitation so that the fabric keeps moving around, but I get a really long soak. So each fabric is different. Linen I like 5 to 2. Silks I like 2 to 5. Something like cotton I usually do even. So it depends on your fabric and how fast it dyes. But with this linen, like I said, we're going to be doing 5 minutes of sitting to 2 minutes of not sitting, of agitating. And we'll let it go and see what happens. So here we are. My fabric has agitated, and then I let it spin, rinse, and finish its cycle. So now you can see there's green all over my washer, but my fabric is also green. It's a very nice color. First off, I'm going to wash this again. There's probably a lot of dye, even though I rinsed it out, there's probably a lot of dye left in the fabric. So once again, I'm going to use my detergent. I'm going to run another cycle. This will also help to clean out my machine somewhat. So I'm going to run another cycle and then we'll be back again. Alright, we're done with our wash cycle. As you can see, my fabric's a very pretty color green. It's exactly what I was looking for, so I'm very happy. I'm going to take this out now and I'm going to dry it in the dryer. And next thing I'm going to do is clean the washer. As you can see, it's dyed green and it's got little spots all over it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run a full load with just bleach and my rag. So I'm going to start that and I'll be back in a minute. Now that my machine has agitated for a while, you can see that it's already started, the bleach has already started to take some of the stuff off the fins. However, we need to get rid of all this stuff around in here that the bleach doesn't reach yet. So I'm going to take my rag, just dip it in the bleachy water, and run it over every part of my machine that has color on it. Now, I like to say that I have one of the cleanest machines around because, you know, after doing this monthly, your machine is incredibly clean. Be sure and get the underside of the fins, like this. If you don't want to touch the bleach water, be sure and wear gloves. I don't mind, but some people do. There we go. I'm also going to be doing under the lid, but under the rim like this, because some of your dye will get caught up in there. So pretty much be sure and get everywhere you can see color and all the places you can't see but can reach. I'm going to go around the edge of my machine in this little bleachy tray, which by the way I never use because you never know when bleach is going to come out on stuff you don't want bleach, so I hate the bleach tray. And there we go. I'm going to let this continue washing. While it's washing, it's going to wash out my rag, and I have a perfectly clean washer. And there we go. We have a lovely dyed piece of fabric, and we have a clean washer. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you stop by for tomorrow. Tomorrow's E, so we're going to be doing eyelets and grommets and what the difference is. So thank you for watching this video. See you tomorrow.